your mates forever. You know, it doesn't matter what level you play football at, or what level at sporting, you know, you play in, if it's netball or soccer or basketball, whatever premiership that you play in, you've got those memories forever, and you've always had these guys in the back of your mind for forever, and you make a great relationship with them as well.
Hey guys, before we start this episode, a big thanks to our major sponsor for the last couple of years, Southern Slugs. Speaking of the Southern Slugs, there's a great event happening in October this year in Croatia. The Australian men's and women's teams are heading over there to take on the Croatian national teams. The tour will be headlined by the one and only Kevin Sheedy, who'll be coaching both teams. Brent Harvey and Isaac Smith, speaking of legends, well, they'll be playing for the national men's team and doing school coaching clinics as well. How good is that? Tour dates to the 7th to the 15th of October. Also available are 6 nights cruising the Croatian coast on a 5-star boat, or taking the Oktoberfest in Munich, Germany. I've done that before and it's unbelievable. So it's all thanks to Aussie Rules Global, taking the game to the world. Head over to the Southern Slugs Facebook page for more details. Well, what a pleasure it is to have the man himself, Johnny the Rat Platten, on Sports Legends of Bevo again.
G'day Bevo, how are you?
Yeah, going on nicely. How are you going, most importantly, mate?
Yeah, no, good. Yeah, very busy. So life's good. So yeah, really enjoying what's happening in my life. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll get to it. Obviously, lots happening for you at the moment, but we'll get to your beloved Elizabeth Eagles, because that's a big story at the moment. And obviously, a few weeks ago, we saw, everyone sort of agrees it was a pretty disappointing result in the end, over 500-point loss to Elizabeth. What was your first feeling when you saw that result, for someone who's been so close to the club, and it's a club that you played your juniors with, Platts? Yeah,
it's something which you don't want to ever see. I believe that it shouldn't happen in any sort of sport, you know, a big score like that. Look, it was disappointing, but look, we've come together. We've sorted out a few things. We've got some players back to the club, which is very important, and we also got some wonderful people working at the club as well. So, it was, when I heard it and saw it, I was so disappointed, and I'm thinking that, oh God, there must be something that we can do, and we have over the last 3 or 4 weeks.
Yeah, no, the results are certainly turning around. No wins just yet, but you sort of feel as though your win's not too far away, and it's good to see Andrew Hayes playing, although he pulled a hammy the other day, I saw.
Yes, he did. It was fun, and it was good on Hazy and Jody from Nova. We had a great day there. Some of the past players came back and watched the game. Some of the players from last year came back and played. Some are still getting clearances from other clubs, but you know the club's building. You know, we're building on, you know, for the end of this year, 24. But I hope so. Some of the blokes who I've been in contact with have said that they're coming back next year to make it bigger and better, hopefully.
So would there be a possibility that young Jakey, my old former teammate, might have a kick next year to play a few games potentially?
I'm not sure if Jake wants to do that at the minute. He's got a very important job, so I don't think he wants to get injured.
Fair enough. Totally understand. And there's a big game happening tonight that you're going to be coach of as well. It's Elizabeth taking on Lockleys, and that's all about obviously raising money for the club, which is just such a wonderful thing that everyone's involved in. Tell us more about that, Platts.
Yeah, no, it's good. It's a lot of people have reached out to the Footy Club, Elizabeth Football Club, and the Marmalade boys are playing tonight as well. So I'll be out there helping them, and I think Jars and Bernie Vince and a few other legends of the AFL are playing as well. So yeah, it's going to be a great night. Look, it's a great night to get the kids and family involved and get back to grassroots football.
And let's hope, you know, like I said before, there's a lot of money raised there for the club, and they can turn things around. Obviously, the rest of 2024 and then 25 as well. And like I said before, sometimes things like this happen, and before you realise how important the club is to everyone, and it's great to see that things are heading in the right direction as well.
Oh, it is, and it's very important for that part of the Elizabeth up in the northern suburbs as well, which, you know, we sort of know where the suburb is and how tough it is, the area. But it's always great to see kids out there kicking footies, having fun, and trying to keep them off the streets as much as we can.
You played your juniors with Elizabeth Eagles. How'd that come about, Platts? Did your dad or family play there as well, or how?
Well, Mum and Dad they got married and went down to Elizabeth in the mid '60s, and the early '60s or late '50s, and all my brothers played for Elizabeth, and mum and dad were part of the club. They were on the committee. Typical mum was in the canteen cutting oranges for us at half time and quarter time and things like that. So, as I said, brothers all played. We got involved in it, and we've been involved in it since it opened up in the '60s. So we've always got a bit of a soft spot for Elizabeth.
Such a small world. My dad played with your brother as well back at the Eagles back in the day as well. So it's classic Adelaide, isn't it?
It's very, very close Adelaide.
And let's talk about your junior journey, Platts. So you played with the Elizabeth Eagles, and then when did you start playing at Centrals? How'd that come about?
Well, I was about 15, 16, and I got the opportunity to get asked to go out and play with Central's under 17s. So that was back in 1979. So it's sort of all created from there. It's a club which I always brag for, Central Districts. I grew up in the area, and I always wanted to play for Central Districts. It was just one of those things. All my brothers played footy for Elizabeth, and a couple of them went on and played for Centrals, but not at the highest level that I did. But things just grew from there. 79, my first year under 17s, we won the premiership. 1980, I played 17s and 19s for Centrals, and then in 81 was the year that I first started playing with Centrals in the league level. And
113 games in Magarey. Pretty good record there at the Dogs.
Oh, it was great. It's where you grew up, and it's where you went there every Saturday as a kid to go watch your favourite footballer, and to play one game. It was fantastic. But to play 113 games and lucky enough to win the Magarey medal in '84, and then finished up going to Hawthorn. So it was a great for me growing up in the area as well, and being a true blue Elizabeth boy.
And was there a bit of envy seeing the success of the Doggies for all that era, and knowing that you sort of just missed out on winning a premiership yourself with the Dogs, or did it not matter so much because you had so much success with Hawks?
Yes, it was. It was. I was probably a couple of years too short. I think I retired in 1998 because after being at Hawthorn for 12 years, I came back and played for Centrals for 1 year. But unfortunately enough, it didn't work out for me. I was 35 then, so I retired at the end of '98, and then 2 years later, Centrals finished up winning 9 premierships in 12 years. So
ridiculous.
It was that amazing era of the Doggies. It was a great era for Central District Football Club, a great era for the suburb of Elizabeth and up in the northern suburbs.
And let's talk about your time at the Hawks. How'd that first come about? Who first gave you a call when you were playing at the Dogs, and what was your reaction like knowing that you're going to be going to play in the VFL, the best competition in the land?
Yeah, it goes right back to 1981, my first year at Centrals at league level, and Hawthorn saw me then, and a great friend of mine, Tony Farouj, saw me. He was the football manager at Hawthorn. So I had a phone call from him at the end of 1981, and they say, they asked me to come over and play with Hawthorn if I'm thinking about going over to Victoria and playing the VFL, which I always wanted to do. My highest level was always to play in the VFL. So we created a great relationship between Hawthorn Football Club, Alan Jeans, and myself, and mum and dad, and I probably at the end of the day I always probably knew that I was going to go to Hawthorn, even though Carlton came over and saw me in '81 and signed me up before I went to Hawthorn in '86.
That's controversial.
Yes, it was. Yeah, it was a funny time of my life where I suppose my heart and soul was with Hawthorn because the relationships which I built up. But in '84, Carlton came over and they signed up Kernahan, Bradley, and Motley, and I went and saw them as well, and they signed me up and they gave me a bit of cash, and away we went. So and then at the end of '85, when I finished at Centrals, I had to make a decision: was it Hawthorn or Carlton? And both clubs were very similar. They were fantastic. I built up a bit of a relationship with Carlton as well. But I suppose at the end of the day, Hawthorn was a great family club, and I come from a family of 9. And Lee Matthews was just about to retire, and a few other blokes were just to retire. And so I thought my football days would be greater playing at Hawthorn than it was at Carlton. So I finished up going to Hawthorn.
Well, there you go. It was a pretty successful decision, I think, in the end with 4 premierships. So.
Yeah, it was a great era. Some great fellas I played with, and Alan Jeans was fantastic. He became a bit of a father figure to me as well. while I was at Centrals, my father died of cancer when I was only 18. So it was pretty much no brainer for me to go to Hawthorn because of the relationships I had with the club and Alan Jeans.
Would have been a tough decision though as well, because you had those relationships through playing state footy with Curtis, Bradley, and also knowing Motley so well too.
Yeah, no, and those relationships are still as strong as ever, and we talk about those days, and we talk about the 80s, and I love the 80s because I think that was the best part of the SANFL football back in the 80s. There's some great players, some legend players who came out of through the 80s who we all went over to Melbourne, during the mid 80s. But we played state football together. We played Till Cup together back in 1980. So the relationships that I have with these blokes are still there and are still strong as ever.
And what was it like to play state of origin footy? Because everyone wants it back, and it probably won't happen because I think we see that jealousy with what's going on with the NRL every year with New South Wales taking on Queensland, and it's such a big thing with their 3-game series, and there's always that bit of envy that we want to have it back. But I think I saw something on Talking Footy the other night. The South Australian team didn't look too good, Platts, against Victoria, so maybe it's a good thing.
It might be a good thing, but they were a pretty solid side back in the 80s, but I suppose now, I don't know how it's all, if it can fit into somewhere during the year, if it's a game at the start of the year, end of the year, middle of the year, if there's a bye. There's South Australia, there's Victoria, there's New South Wales now. Tassies are coming in. There's they talk about Darwin coming in. There's the Brisbane, Queensland as well. So there's all states everywhere, and trying to pick a state of origin team out of all those states and to try and get them all together in one area during the year is going to be pretty tough.
Yeah, like the old school, the days of the carnival and stuff, but that was magnificent, wasn't it? But I think we have to reminisce because it's probably not going to happen anymore now.
Well, back in the carnival days, it was only South Australia, Victoria and West Australia. So
of course,
it was pretty easy to get those 3 states together, where now we're talking about 6 or 7 states trying to come together.
And what was it like to play against and with the best of the best?
Oh, it was fantastic. It was another step up. It's when you go through your footy career, I've always set goals for myself, and that was to play with Centrals and to play state football, to play for Hawthorn, and all these things come up, and you just keep on ticking boxes. But to play in state games was amazing because you're playing against the best 20 or 22 players, and you're playing with the best 20 and 22 players. So you just have to take it all in. It was, and the friendships you make out of it as well. And as we've mentioned before, it's just another step up from playing, in a grand final.
And who was the toughest opponent and probably the best you played with, Platts?
The best one would probably be Robert Harvey. I thought that he was always my toughest opponent. I got tagged a lot of times, so the toughest tagger was Tony Liberatore. So good old Liber, and we have a great relationship now, and we talk about those days. But overall, I had some tough players. Robert Harvey was always there. Tony McGuinness, Craig Bradley, Greg Williams. There was so many great players back in our days. And
forward as well, like Gary Ablett, Tony Modra. I sort of talked to my friends about, you talked before about the 80s, but I think that early 90s was just the best. Remember that game when Gary Ablett kicked 14 and Paul Salmon kicked 10?
Oh, yeah.
And you just sort of think about that and think, what an unbelievable era that was. And Jason Dunstall kicked 130 one year and didn't even win a Brownlow, you know?
That's correct.
It's just insane.
Yeah, it doesn't happen anymore. Probably the most that Blake kicks these days is, I think Tex might have kicked 9-10 last year against West Coast, but that might only happen once every 3 or 4 years. So, what blokes do now is most of they kick nowadays is 6 or 7 goals at the most, and for the leading goal kicker is probably 60 or 70, 80 goals for the year as well. So I'm not sure when the last time someone kicked 100 goals. So it's an era which is slowly going, but the game is different. The game's played different as well.
It's so, like you said before, there's so many multiple goal scorers now and midfielders kicking goals as well. I can tell you the last person to kick 100 was Buddy Franklin.
Yes.
In 2008 when Favolas got so close as well. Remember that game?
Yes,
so,
Hawks, that's right.
Long time ago now. So, And let's talk about your time at the Hawks. 4 premierships. Which one of those do you reckon was your favourite and why, Platts?
Oh, it's always hard to pick the best one. You know, they all had a great story towards it. 86 was my first one. My first year at Hawthorn, we won our first year, so that was always special. You know, your first one. 88 and 89, it was an era where the club had never won a back-to-back premiership. So they'd been in many before then, but the club was always wanting to win a back-to-back and to be a part of the first one, back-to-back 88, 89, where we beat Melbourne by 96 points, I think, in 88. And then 89, we beat Geelong by 6 points, which I can't remember much of the game because I got concussion in the first quarter. And then the 91 was that we played at Waverley Park, the first one and last one ever, because the MCG was getting done up. So every grand final had a special story about it. So to pinpoint one, it's always going to be hard.
And who are the leading, I guess, instigators for the best on ground celebrations post grand final, Platts?
Oh, there was a lot of blokes there. We had Dipper, Dunstall, Burton, even some of the younger blokes, and Pritchard and Condo and Anderson and these sort of blokes. They were always lots of fun to go out with.
I've won one premiership myself, and it was just the best celebration. So to win 4 just must have been unbelievable.
Oh, it was, and your mates forever. It doesn't matter what level you play football at, or what level you at sporting. You play if it's netball or soccer or basketball, whatever premiership that you play in. You got those memories forever, and you've always had these guys in the back of your mind for forever, and you make a great relationship with them as well.
And in terms of the Hawks, obviously at the moment they're going along quite nicely, going through a funny sort of period. But in recent times, they probably really should have beaten Port the other week. They beat the Pros last week. But Sam Mitchell's really got them up and about. And I think we spoke about this off air before. You're sort of starting to get 20 or 30 games into some of these young guys, and you feel as though they're heading in the right direction now?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, and Sammy's a great fella, and he's a footy tragic. He's a typical coach, and he loves it, and spoken to him lots of times, and he's just football knowledge and the way that it should be played, and he's going quite well. He's got a bunch of young kids there, so which as I said, 20, 30, 40, 50 games, and I think the club's looking exciting for the next 2 or 3 years. Not saying they're going to win premierships and that, but I think some of the blokes who have been coming up and the junior kids are going to be very exciting. Hopefully we do play finals in the next 2 or 3 years to give them all that experience as well. So the Hawks are going okay.
And your doggies as well. Obviously had a few tough years there, but played the finals last year, and Paul Thomas seems to have them going along quite nicely too.
He has, yeah. The club's going really well. Paul's doing a great job. Paul knows the culture of Central Districts. He was born and bred in Elizabeth. I play with his dad, Jamie. He knows what the players want, and they respect him because what he's done over his footy career as well, playing at Centrals. And we've got some good recruits, some coming over. The club's going really well. Greg Edwards, the new CEO, is going very, very well. So the club's turned the corner over the last 3 or 4 years.
And you're still involved down there as well? I know you were assistant coaching there for a while. Are you still involved?
I'm still involved as a ex-player, a supporter, but also trying to help out on the past players. So just get involved, trying to get as many past players as we can there every week, and functions and things like that. So my heart's still there.
Yeah, beautiful. And in terms of the doggies and your Hawks, I always love hearing the stories about the pranks and the characters back in the day, Platt. So can you share a couple of those funny stories and the guys, the funny characters you played with at the Hawks and the Dogs?
Oh, look, I suppose with the doggies boys, they're a great bunch of blokes, and I've got great relationships with all the blokes that I play with. I don't think I hate a player that I play with, and just some of the stories. We used to have nights where we would dress up and put shows on for the supporters and things like that. We just, I'm that type of bloke that, to raise money for the players. At Hawthorn, we had some great characters and wonderful blokes there, as I mentioned before, it was great to play with Dipper because you didn't know what Dipper was going to do, so he kept on your toes all the time. Every time Dermot walked into a club or a function, everybody just stared at Dermot. So he's all funny blokes. And Dunstall, he's a great fella. Sometimes can be a little bit arrogant, but a great fella.
Yeah, I love hearing the stories of like back in the day, like players moving their teammates' cars and that sort of thing. But nothing you experienced like that.
No, nothing like that. Look, I probably can't say whatever on this program, but we had some characters. John Kennedy was another one who did some funny stuff to some players. So yeah, but,
we'll keep behind closed doors. And you spoke just a moment ago before about the modern game, Platts, and it's a hard one, isn't it? Because there's so many rule changes, and I understand why they're changing the rules because it's all about the head knocks and what have you. But what's your thoughts on where the game stands at the moment? They're obviously really knuckling down on the sling tackle and everything else. But do you feel as though the game is in an okay situation, or is there anything they can do differently at the moment?
Oh, look, I think the game's in a pretty good place. Look, the AFL have done a really good job over the last 6 or 7 years to look after the players, especially with high tackles. And then it's pretty much up to the player and the doctor nowadays to assess the play if they get hit in the head somewhere. Bring them off, test them out, and if they don't pass the test, it's a 12-day rest. But I think it might go even longer. I think it's up to the player to see where he's at, and if he's still getting headaches and he's still having blurry vision and stuff like that. So it's it might take the player up to 3-4 weeks to come back and play, but it's really up to the player. Make sure that they get the right support and the right rest, and hopefully they come back bigger and better after they get concussion. So AFL are doing a good job, but it's certainly it needed to be, because back in my era, even when you got concussed, you sort of wanted to play, and you probably shouldn't have played, and the doctor should have been a bit stronger, and that the club should have been a bit stronger. So look, it's good the way that it is now. It's sad to see some of the younger players have to retire because of concussions, because they've had too many. But at least they're getting the right advice, and hopefully that they can live a normal life.
That's really well said. Obviously, we saw a situation the other week where Harley Reid laid that tackle in the game against the Saints, and he's now ineligible for the Rising Star. Do you feel as though there's been some really interesting discussion topics about it on radio and TV and what have you, but do you think they should change the rules now for the Brownlow and also the Rising Star, whereby if you're just going to get suspended for a tackle, you're still eligible to win the Rising Star?
Maybe I'm just an old horse. I think just keep it as it is. It's been like that for over 100 years. So why change things for these little things which happen once or twice a year? So no, it's just leave it with the umpires, leave it as the fairest and best, and that's how it's been for many years.
So you're pretty comfortable with the fact that it's a real tricky one, isn't it? Because it doesn't seem fair that Harley Reid laid a tackle that would have been a great tackle, would have been holding the ball back in the day.
Well, back in those days, that's right.
But nowadays it's now suspension. But
and that's why the AFL have brought in these new rules, to stop the sling tackle, because it. The sling tackle, because what firstly hits the ground first is always your head on the sling tackle. So, if we can cut that out, blokes will be the fairest and best player. So, I'm happy with that. I know
happy with it.
Controversy and everything else, but I might be an old horse about it. But I like the way it is.
And also in terms of the Brownlow, obviously it's becoming a midfielders award. It has been for a number of years as well. You're pretty comfortable the way that. In terms of having the umpires doing the votes and whatever as well? Yeah,
I'm still pretty happy for the umpires to look at it. No, unless they can pick the votes on a Monday and they go through the whole side and look at certain areas as well.
That's not a bad idea.
They could do that. After a game, it's so much pressure. Getting in the rooms and getting changed and thinking about who are they going to pick, who's done this, who's done that. But if they sort of sit down maybe on a Sunday or a Monday, they get together on a Monday and they look at the thing and look at the game and look at what like a tag has done, or what a full forward's done, or a backman's done, they might start to even out the votes through that there. So if that happens, it's, I'm happy with that as well.
That's a really, really good way of putting it, Platts, because they don't really have much time to make their decision, and they've just watched the game and they just see a midfielder who's just had 30 possessions, but their influence might not be the same as like you mentioned, as Haggard. It's just completely like the game last week against St Kilda. Harley Reid was in that second half, had 3 touches, and he was dominating the game before that. Yeah. So technically, the St Kilda player, I think it might have been Windhager, should really get a vote then in that situation.
Yeah, that's it.
So,
yeah, and that's what you get with the game. Yeah, you watch the game, so you realise what players do, what coaches do, what the team does to sacrifice their game to do something else. And to a fellow who's had whatever 20 touches in the first half and then has 3 in the second half, it's a job which he's done well. So I wouldn't think that it's worth 3 votes, but it might
maybe
be worth one vote. So and he's done his job. A backman who's up against a forward like, say, a Tex Walker, who last week kicked 6 or 7 and this week he's kicked none. And then all of a sudden, hell, he kicked 6, and they rated him, do this, do that. Now our backman has done a great job on him. He's punched the ball away, he's marked the ball, he's got the kick away. So he might be worth 2 votes. So they're the sorts of things which you got to look at.
I absolutely agree with you. I think that's a wonderful way of looking at it. So I guess we'll see what happens.
That's how the clubs look at it. I think they look at it what job the certain bloke has done, and if he's warranted to get points for the best and fairest. So maybe that they should look at that.
Yeah, well said. That's a really good way of looking at it. And how are you going personally? Because obviously you chatted, I think it was last year on Spotlight on Channel 7, and you've had over 30 concussions. I think it was maybe 35 or 36, they said, Platts. And how are you going with your own situation? And what sort of symptoms have you noticed with a bit of a change in your situation there?
Oh, I'm going okay. Certain things, I still get some headaches and things like that, and you still forget a few things at these stages. You've got to write everything down, but overall, look, I'm going well. I'm trying to keep myself busy, up in the mornings and doing a little bit of gym work and stuff like that. So I'm going all right. So I'm touching wood.
Good to hear. Good to hear. And finally, the Safety Hub, you're wearing the shirt there proudly. Yep. Your business is booming. It's going well in South Australia and now in Victoria as well. Tell us about that and how people can go and support it.
Yeah, no, we've got 2 shops. One here in Adelaide at Dry Creek, and another shop in Melbourne in Dandenong South. So it's all going well. The Safety Hub. We've had it for about 15 years now. We've been in Melbourne for 7 years, so got some great networking people over there and some great clients as well. So everything's going well. So if you need any safety gear, workwear gear, we're here to help. Jump on our website, thesafetyhub.com, and we'd love to help out.
I do apologise I don't work for Bigford's anymore, mate, because it was one of my highlights seeing you and seeing how excited your team was when I was dropping off iced coffees back in the day.
It was good days, Bevo. I enjoyed those, and also the staff enjoyed them probably more than I did. So, so, mate, come down and see us, and we'll love to fit you out with some workwear.
Absolutely pleasure having you on the show again, Platts. Thank you so much,
Thanks,
mate.
Bevo. Good on you.
All the very best with the Safety Hub and also your own situation. Hopefully, like you said before, you can keep kicking those goals and going on nicely.
Thank you very much.